Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm GoldenFox and welcome to another edition of Behind the Wings. So for those who don't know what this series is, I kind of explained it in the first video and you can definitely check that out, but I'll give you the clip notes. I'm basically looking at my much older material, reacting to it and commentating over it, and address a couple of things of what my intentions were, and several other parts of detail in which, as I'm like trying to explain things completely without a script, I think you guys kind of get the idea. So with that being said, the video I'm going to be reacting to today is my second pony video, in which during the season 2 premiere, after it aired, it was kind of a big deal at that time. I also want to address that I'm not going to be going over every single video in chronological order. I'm eventually going to jump to different areas and may step out of my boundaries, but I kind of want to push myself a little bit of a nudge into a natural chronological direction for just a little bit, and then kind of spread outward to other selected videos. But in the meantime, I'm going to be talking about this because there is a little bit of weight behind this one, and hopefully you guys can understand what my intentions were. Most of you would already understand. So basically, this was first impressions of the season 2 premiere, and this was kind of the starting point to when I started to become more of an episode reviewer, which at the time was very weird, but it definitely was a set in the right direction. So we're going to be looking at it. You're going to probably watch me cringe. You're probably going to cringe looking at this. Let's not stall it around any longer, and let's get this out of the way. Once again, that old-ass logo. Oh, that's right, the audio was muted. Originally, this was Alter Bridge's Broken Wings. Yeah, it was Broken Wings, not to be confused with the Mr. Mr. song. This was supposed to be a dramatic opening sequence of how I felt with the episode in its entirety, because it was a pretty dramatic one at best, and I didn't expect this to happen before. It was a surprise in the series, but it had to be muted because it was a copyright claim. Also, yes, I did say return to harmony when it's return of harmony.
Let me first say I do not intend to review every single episode of Season 2, but I will check every now and then as I deliver my thoughts to DA.
Oh my God.
Also, before diving in,
I'm going to pause it for a second. Holy shit, that audio is absolutely terrible. Part of the reason is because after this video got copyright claimed, there's an option where you can actually remove the portion of the claimed audio, but the removal of it can also affect a huge chunk of your video audio-wise, and that's kind of what's happening here. But it was still a terrible audio quality regardless. I was recording off of the, if I could find it somewhere. Oh yes, here it is. This little webcam here. I was using this to record off of any reviews until I would eventually get myself a much better quality mic. And the feedback was very underwhelming. It was very and gross. But I had to stick with that until, you know, the aforementioned. So with that being said, I hope you guys can tolerate the audio quality of this. And this is something to address to anybody else who decides to get involved in content creating. You're going to have to get used to that until you can afford much better equipment. So let's continue.
diving in, let me offer a friendly warning that this is a massive spoiler video. It's recommended that you watch the first episode before.
Oh yes, I got to give out that spoiler warning.
Delays,
even though you can just watch it freely online or
season 2 of my
search for episodes of it.
Our story in this two-parter is about a new and even more convincing villain named Discord, voiced respectively by John Delancey. I hope I'm saying that right. As he threatens
it is pronounced like that, John
chaos.
Delancey.
Princess Celestia assigns the main 6 ponies to gain the elements of harmony to defeat him, but unfortunately they're stolen, and truth be told, they were tricked into being in a labyrinth where they scatter and search. Little do they suspect.
I'm going to pause right here for just a second here. So I stated out loud they were being tricked into going to this labyrinth. Let me try to rephrase that. Twilight thought that based off of the riddle that Discord gave out was supposed to be a riddle that would mean going to that labyrinth. Apparently in part 2, Discord stated out loud that he never said anything about a labyrinth or a maze. And it's just like, it astonishes me that he kind of plays up this trick in such a manner that it's definitely hilarious in hindsight. But also, it wasn't really tricked. This is partially Twilight's fault for making the assumption that it's a maze. And I think that kind of fooled a lot of people. So I wouldn't say she was being tricked, but then again, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments of whether or not that was true, because I kind of feel skeptical about that claim in that review.
This was a trap for them to be separated, and to each of Twilight's friends, they are hypnotized and corrupted into acting completely different from what they originally were. Applejack
Technically, it's brainwashed, but given, you know, how comparable it is to see the whole loopy eye sort of effect, that's definitely based off of Ka from the Jungle Book. Like, I think even the animators would have to acknowledge that. So yeah, I did say hypnotized.
Laughter, thinking she's being ridiculed. Rarity is stuck under an illusion where she thinks she's carrying a giant diamond. When
that
really
was quite a hilarious that was a hilarious subplot.
And poor Rainbow Dash
as well as Fluttershy being a total bitch.
In her home city, and thus betraying them, so to speak. So Twilight must struggle through all the mishaps of her friend's cruelty towards her, while Ponyville is all messed up. Clouds Candy, Jay,
good lord, the way I'm reading that, it just like, this is one of my earlier errors or mistakes. When I was reading the script, I was just like going through and just doing it like this and da-da-da-da-da, like it was a little chore, instead of, you know, implementing emotions. So that is kind of hilarious in hindsight and knowing what kind of mistakes I made when I was new with that. This is also, I think, a catchable error for anybody who gets started on anything, because most of the time, whenever you're reading a script while recording, you kind of get lost into focusing on reading that, or you're kind of having to redo it over and over again because you make a grammar error or you misspeak. And that's me on a daily basis every time I record a script for anything.
Abruptly, floors are either tiles or roads of soap. And some of the
that was only one road of soap. I don't think there were any other roads of soap anywhere.
I'm going to be honest with you and say that I did not expect a cliffhanger like this to be this twisted. This two-parter was dark, and it left a raw bitterness in me from what I saw at the end of part 1. Mind control, character betrayal.
You know, looking at this, you know, looking at it now, it's kind of a bold claim to say that it was a dark two-parter. It did have a twist, a different turn for the main characters to encounter. And it's one of the major things that I give this two-parter credit for, on top of, you know, breaking out of its formality of, you know, the show being targeted for little girls and doing something a little more appealing to the older audience. But that hasn't aged well, saying that it was dark.
Character betrayal, and more unexpectedly bizarre moments were thrown back and forth. And even worse, it was only a week away telling how this situation was going to be concluded.
Oh, yes.
You, Hasbro.
I'm going to go ahead and pause that for a second. Okay, so whenever there was a new season or a finale airing, both the two-parters were aired in one day. Back then, the two-parters were separated each by a week. So you had to wait another week just to watch the second half. And it was a bit of a chore, but there was a lot of anticipation, supposedly. And it's basically, it was very torturous for some of us. I was very torturous and like, what happened to part 2? Oh my God. So, consider yourself lucky that you're getting both parts in one sitting instead of, having to wait another week. Now, some people would argue thinking that it seems counterintuitive to have both parts every time. But at the same time, when you're making a two-parter, you're telling a much bigger story. So I don't think it's that counterintuitive, in case anybody thinks of that.
I was pretty much hung over this entertainment-wise, given how much fun I had with season 1.
Entertainment-wise.
To come across something
part of reviewing is involving how you feel with the entertainment.
More intense and somberness going on throughout the second half because of how corrupted the ponies were painfully affecting Twilight's relationship, and her will to gain the elements of harmony. There even came a moment where Twilight gave in and thus corrupting herself in the process.
God, some of the clips that I used were very minimal.
All reports on friendship to Twilight, though agonizing and aching spike to the stomach. Poor little guy.
Yeah, poor little guy.
No doubt about it.
This would eventually become the start of the whole... I'm going to pause that here. This would eventually become this whole punching bag that Spike unfortunately gets throughout most of the series. And that is rather unfortunate. I don't like Spike going through that. there's a whole dilemma of how the writers were writing Spike and how the people reacted to how Spike is written. I'm not going to go over that because that would go off a completely different rail. I'm here to focus on that. And yes, I literally compared Discord to both Cobb the Snake from the Jungle Book and the Joker from the Dark Knight. That is a very bizarre comparison, but the thing about the Joker in the Dark Knight is that he's so psychologically... I forgot what the term was. He's a psychopath, but he plays around with being a psychopath. What Discord was doing, he was playing around with them, but I wouldn't consider that to be a psychopath. Then again, the way he was designed, it's really confusing explaining it. Like, I still think it's a stretch to make that kind of comparison. As for the Cobb part, yeah, the whole hypnotic stuff.
From the Jungle Book.
I'm going to get garbage for that.
He's a villain who enjoys the sadistic and twisted being in him and also enjoys the theatrical. The other is given all the hypnotic techniques he has, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I literally explained that in the video.
I would say he practically makes Nightmare Moon look tame in comparison, but the one exception in which Discord lacks when compared to is that he doesn't have much of a backstory or motivation as to why he's who he is. It's not much of a problem as far as villains go, but for characters who have a reason for who they are, they're the ones that make me sympathize with the most. I had a lot of feelings for Princess Luna and why she was transformed into Nightmare Moon.
That is a bit of an old claim that I made on that part. I'm going to go ahead and pause that here for just a second. So, I've learned that based off of Discord and based off of other villains, pardon the unfortunate bright lighting here, and I say that now as everything gets dark. Hilarious, right? But no, what I've learned from these two is that I like villains who have that backstory because it explains why they're who they are and what leads them up to it. You have a much better way of connecting with them. Whereas characters like Discord is just somebody who enjoys being the villain and just embraces the hell out of it. Until the later portion of the series when he got his own reformation in Season 3. But sometimes you don't need a backstory. You just need charisma and a sense of enjoyment, and basically what Discord has going forth. As I'm trying to think this up along the way, and please excuse me without a script. This is what happens when I record anything without a script. I'm just going through a lot of uhs and shit. A nice little burp on top of that. Let's continue.
Of the comparison, he was still a fun and villain.
Okay, I'm going to pause that right there. I don't know if you've heard it. There was a definite raise in the voice quality right there. This is part of the condition of when I was working on that music claim and removing the audio.
I also have to touch upon the humor. This had some of the most random humor you can imagine. Rarity's boulder was named Tom, and, well, when being turned back, she never wanted to talk about it again. And I don't blame her.
I still think that was
Spike
hilarious.
About Rainbow Dash
no doubt about it.
Her absence, so Twilight makes her the Rainbow Dash. Oh, Spike, how I envy you. I wish I was the Rainbow Dash. Unless references were made to...
Okay, I need to pause right there. Holy shit. Again, please excuse the unfortunate lighting. We're having like a partially cloudy day here. Wow. Saying that I wish I was the Rainbow Dash part. That is easily asking to be self-inserted into a fan fiction. That's embarrassing to say. I was definitely in that obsession period when I was a part of the Brony fandom and how much I really loved it. And that obsession period eventually faded out within like Season 3 and Season 4, kind of around there. So yeah, sorry about that. I probably made all of you cringe too.
Were made throughout as well, which I don't care much for. One of which was a Chocolate Rain reference. Literally. Ha ha. Now the biggest complaint...
Yeah, the reference to Chocolate Rain. Chocolate Rain! Oof. God, that song got very repetitive after a while. It's not a bad song, and I have full respect to the musician who did that song. It's definitely a huge landmark of identifying part of what made YouTube so popular, but still, I love that. You know, I still appreciate and respect that the staff members went to the trouble of making a reference to Chocolate Rain.
The biggest complaint I have with this entirely is that I found the third act to be rather anticlimactic. Even though the second half was an emotional roller coaster, literally with Rainbow Dash, there was no fight between the ponies in Discord. They arrive, Discord tastes the rainbow, and is turned back to stone. The end. Star Wars reference.
This one is a little sketchy to talk about. I still believe that the ending was very rushed. I mean, he just stands there and he takes the blast and he gets turned back into a statue. And it just seems like there was no struggle between the two. Like, he didn't do anything to stop it. And just it just ended. It just felt so weird. It does have, you know, this little celebration sequence that referenced the ending of Star Wars New Hope. But I was also told that this is more of Discord letting his pride get to him until he sees, oh shit, there's a huge rainbow beam coming after me. But still, he doesn't do anything afterwards. He doesn't try to run away. He doesn't try to do anything. I think that would have been very interesting to say, like, oh no, I underestimated you. Oh, like, even if in that regard, that would have actually made the second part much more acceptable, because I still think that this was very anticlimactic, that he just stands there and takes the blast. I'm pretty sure that some of you guys are willing to address your arguments in the comment section. At least be constructive and don't be a jerk about it. I get some of those comments every now and then, but I trust some of you. That being said, let's continue.
Given that there's a 22-minute limit mark, they could have at least saved that ending for the battle itself, and condensed the scenes where Twilight's friends were being restored. This could have been given enough time to conclude this part better. But on the bright side, it was nice to see the Harmony powers give out an additional sonic rain boom.
Yeah, so that is actually kind of true. There was a huge rain boom in that one. In the pilot episode, all it was just a giant DNA strand of rainbows shot out to Nightmare Night. No, Nightmare Moon. Sorry, I got mixed up between the holiday and the character, which I'll eventually tackle on in a future video.
Concludes my feelings on Return to Harmony, and I hope that the rest of Season 2 becomes just as entertaining as Season 1. Now again, I don't plan to do this again unless it's really important. Briefly, I want to spend the time
say that now
on behalf of sharing the episodes to us, as some like me do not have cables in their bedroom. It was a privilege that I would never dare to reject. I would also like to thank the Brony Show for its countdown as I was preparing to see this episode. So
yeah, I remember that. I got up early Saturday morning and
live stream,
I'm going to pause it here. I actually was getting up at an early hour preparing to watch this, and one of the big things that I had when the streaming was happening is that multiple times it lagged. I had to refresh the page. There was a weird error, and multiple times I had pre-roll ads on top of that. So that really did not help my case. So I had to watch it again a second time when it was uploaded through YouTube, and I got to watch the whole thing.
I had lag and connection problems, and those obnoxious and time-consuming pre-roll ads didn't make any matters any better.
Right there.
I had to watch it twice to pick up what I missed. For future reference, take my advice and don't go to the trouble of watching it at first hand.
Hey! Okay, that is protesting and boycotting against somebody else's, what their intentions and business practices are. The Brony Show, if they ever watch this video and they're watching this video, I heavily apologize for saying that. I was just trying to save people the headache from what my experience was. Everyone's experience of watching live streams are completely different. So I'm just going to throw that out there, and I hope that nobody takes massive offense. Good God. The size of the screen design, this is so old, like 2011, of course. I remember how new it was. Everything was all shiny and everything, and now things have changed ever since then.
It's not worth it. So I look forward to the next episode, which airs the 15th of October. Are you shitting me?
Yeah, there was a gap on that.
Cock tease. Wait, what's this? Woo! We get to see an episode about Luna. 22nd. Oh, you motherfucker.
Yeah, this was an attempt to throw in some silly humor, just for the sake of having some sense of entertainment behind it. Yeah, I used to do that in some of my videos. Reference. Okay, so yeah, that was my first impressions video of Return of Harmony. There's a few pointers that I do want to address, in which I'm gonna go ahead and lower that, because good lord, that's really bright on the camera. That too. It's still too bright, good lord. I apologize for that in advance, but no, the pointers that I want to address is, I stated in that video that I wasn't going to be doing any more videos regarding what's happening in Season 2. It eventually grew to become where my channel was more dedicated to reviewing episodes, so that was definitely a game changer. The second of which, trying to remember what I was going to point out, is, I really can't think of it at the top of my head. This is what happens when you don't take notes. But saying that, basically just the former right there. I didn't realize I was going to be dedicating my channel to doing episode reviews, which I've already stated before. I once again want to apologize to, you know, the little boycott protest thing that I was inadvertently making a claim to. My intention was just to try to save people from having a headache that if you're going to watch it through a live stream, unless you have a really, really powerful computer or some shit like that. I'm sure that a lot of people do. If you chose to, you know, watch these episodes through a live stream, that's on you. I respect that. That is a huge mistake of mine. For how this video holds up, it was definitely rushed through. That's the second pointer. It was definitely rushed through, and I kind of got it done overnight. Something else that I probably may have to mention this in a future video is that I was recording very quietly, and that was at a late hour when everybody was asleep. There's more to explain on that, but I'm going to go ahead and save that for a future video as I talk about when I was reviewing Luna Eclipsed, which will be the last video where I'm going to do things in chronological order and eventually just scatter around and be selective of whatever videos there are. So, sorry for pausing multiple times and addressing my feelings on the matter. You can definitely watch the video itself, as I'll have linked in the description box, as well as, you know, just the video at the end screen of all of this. So, that being said, I hope you enjoy this video. Until next time, I'm GoldenFox, and take care.